Hello, welcome to MyStartup TV. I'm Majorsunilshetty. We are on the first episode of What's the Trend, which we are launching in a revamped session with the trendy story that we would bring every week. So this is welcome to our weekly show. Today is a historic day for the Indian Armed Forces and women at large in India because the first batch of women officers or the lady officers from the National Defense Academy are going to be passing out. In the history of 70 plus years, 7 decades of this premier institution, it's a historic moment, not just for the institution, it's for the nation as well. To understand what it means to women out there, to all the young girls who are aspiring. My daughter is one of them who wants to join the armed forces. What does it mean to them when they see this first batch, when they grow up, when somebody of my daughter's age, when they grow up and get ready to join the armed forces, what does it mean to them to see these officers, these first batch of women officers would be in their 20 years of service? What is that they're setting up for the next coming generation of women officers? To discuss with me, I have with me Lt Col Ankita Srivastava, who's a veteran, who's also an author and motivational speaker. Ankita, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sunil. Thank you for having me on board.
And it's an honor
to you on our first episode of What's the Trend in a new revamped session for this year 2025. So, for the benefit of our viewers, let's start by, your introduction, about you, right from the armed forces to, as a journey into, transiting as an author and then motivational speaker. Over to you.
Okay, so I became the first girl from Allahabad in 1993 to join Indian Army as a lady officer. And basically, why did I choose that? I would like to just throw some light on that. And because that era was not for a girl child. Believe me, it wasn't for the girl child. So that time, being a girl itself was a problem, actually. So I had a keen eye on having a solution in my mind always. So being a girl, being teased, dowry deaths, all those things. And it was always playing in my mind that I have to create a persona of my own that defies all this. कि अच्छा लड़की हो तो ये नहीं कर सकते, लड़की हो तो तुम्हारे को डाउरी में डेथ होना मानता है, ये नहीं करना था मुझे. So that was one thing which I did. I decided to join army, and God has been very kind to make me through. I was one of the 25 girls who got selected in those days. And then I later on did 14 years in the Indian Army in absence of the permanent commission at that time. Because the rules were not made that time, I had to come out and work in the civil and then re-establish my identity in the civil area. While I was proving to the nation for 14 years that I am not a woman, I had to relearn how to be a woman once I was out of the army. And then I walked the beauty pageants to learn how to be a dainty woman and all that. After that, I wanted to write about my journey to the world. I wanted them to read, the girls who ever thought that anything is impossible. So I wanted to motivate them, and I'm here as a motivational speaker as well.
That's quite a journey, isn't it? In a span of 20 years.
5 years, from being a young woman to being an officer, serving in different parts of the country, and then coming out, making a mark for yourself, outside, not just on one field but multiple. So, just let's take a step back, and if you can share a bit without going into the confidential information. आपका जर्नी कैसा रहा फौज के अंदर में? What talk about the arm you were commissioned into, where all you posted. Again, you and me are Fauji, so we know what not to talk about. So keeping with that, if you could share a little bit for the for the audience out there.
I was the first lady officer to get posted to Siliguri in the West Bengal. I mean, in ahead areas, forward areas basically. Not exactly in Siliguri, much ahead of that. So they were there. That was my first unit. And I would say Bengdubi was the place. After that, I went to Kanpur, and then I went to CIOps. I volunteered to become the first lady officer to go into CIOps. And based on my experience, then the Army headquarters started posting other lady officers, because from there, I wrote to them that it is safe for the women officers. Though my biggest challenge in the CIOps was to reach office alive every day and to reach home alive every day. So this is nothing related to the gender challenge. This is basically a human challenge which I was facing every day for 3 years. And from there, I came to Jodhpur. From Jodhpur, I went to Ambala. Then from Ambala, I went to my hometown. That was my last posting in Allahabad. And that's how I completed 14 years of military service, actually.
And that's quite a few places, for 14 years of service. So when you decided to, when you came out, we know that, the permanent commission was, done much later. So when you came out, what were the choices that you were, in front of you? मतलब क्या था कि आपको क्या लगा कि बस ये दो चीज़ हैं जिसमें मैं जा सकती हूँ, या this is what I can do? What was those choices, and what you picked up, and what made you pick up that choice as you got in?
Okay, so I was very blessed. I would say I count my every challenge as a blessing. So that time, the biggest challenge was recession in 2008, when I finished my 14 years of service, and I was being offered service anywhere, whichever town. I was in Allahabad. I was that small town. The service package, the salary package that I was being offered was almost 5,000 or 10,000, 12,000, which of course I did not feel like taking, because you know what package we had and what we were coming from. So I did not decide to join any of the workplace. Rather than that, I decided to work upon my personality first, and then go on for becoming an author and all that, because I had such a vast experience.
Tiger Hill is Tab Challenge. SBI के platinum
Just a minute, I'll just
के हिस्से के रूप
Sure,
में
sure.
और 26
That is Lieutenant Colonel Ankita joining us, on our show. What's the trend? She okay, no, that's okay. That's okay. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. So coming back to to our conversation, where you came out, you had a choice of joining what you had to do, but you decided to go about doing your, building your, rebuilding yourself, relearning few things in the civil stream.
Ankita, okay. So while Ankita
rejoins us, though she's still there on the show, she's got a urgent call. She will take that up. Again, just to share some timelines with the of the how women came into the armed forces. So it was the first batch of Indian military nursing service started in 1888. Thereafter, the first batch of women officers joined in short service as short service commission officers in 1992. It was in 2008 that permanent commission were given to officers, women officers lady officers from legal and educational corps. And then Indian Air Force started inducting fighter pilots, women fighter pilots, in 2015. And the next timeline is 2020, when Supreme Court, basically allowed women to be granted permanent commission across all services, all corps. And the current batch, which is graduating today from the NDA, these young ladies joined in as teenagers at the NDA in 2021. So what you've seen is last 4 years, 4.5 years of, a journey for them. And today, on 30th May is a historic day for them, also for the, for the nation, as for us, and women as well, where we'll be seeing 17 young officers graduating from National Defence Academy, along with other officers. Why we're talking about the 17? Again, we believe in gender parity in the armed forces, but it's just that because it's a first batch, it is historic. It is historic. Ankita, are you back? Yes.
So, Ankita, how difficult, how easy was it? Easy, I would not use the word easy, but how difficult it was for someone like you to
Change, a
make a
transition from armed forces where life is regimented, right? We all know what's going to happen. You pass orders, it will be done on the ground. You don't have to second guess anything. You know how things would work. Other than the operational side of it, so for you, when you came out, when you decided to transit into the civil world, how difficult was it? What changes you had to do in your own personal lives and a professional journey?
Okay, the first change that I brought in was my commanding tone, pitch of my voice. I had to work upon it. Literally, I thought I'll have a speech therapist or somebody to work upon my tone. This tone was so kind of a commanding tone, giving orders. So in the civil, this doesn't work at all. I had to really learn to lower down my pitch, say the bhaiya, the munnas, the matlab. I had to literally come to that level to be extra polite to the people. Not that I was not knowing how to be polite in the army also, because there's a certain way of talking to the men, and I was so comfortable talking to the soldiers in the language they understand, the tone they understand. That was becoming a little difficult for me when I was talking to the maids, talking to the other lady wives or any other people, or even the children also. It became a little different. So then I had to work on that. First thing that was, and then of course I had to work my demeanor, the way I used to stand. बस सावधान विश्राम, इसके अलावा कुछ आता ही नहीं, थम से खड़े हो गए. I mean, there was nothing dainty about my personality. So I had to work a lot on my personality because we were just 38-year-old. I was just 38-year-old. I was not 68. I was not retired or 58. I mean, retirement life starts from 60, 58 or whatever. 38, you're not retired. So it was very difficult to convince people outside in the civil world that I'm not retired. I'm released. So once somebody said, release means, were you a prisoner of war that you were released? आप released मतलब क्या होता है? Civilian do not understand these lingos, na? So it was difficult initially, of course. It was very difficult. I used to look at my shoes and I used to feel depressed. I did go into depression. Believe me, I did go into depression. My uniform, my lanyard, my cap, everything used to beckon me. And I knew I cannot wear this. There was so much of love for the uniform, but then I can't wear it anymore. So these were very emotional issues as well. So to fall in love with, yeah.
uniform.
Anybody who's gone through that grind, we all know it's earned with sweat and blood. So it's not something that's handed over to you. And when we say sweat and blood, it is sweat and blood because that's what you go through in the academy. So, and there is a lot before you wear the uniform, right? You go through the selection process. So, it is but natural for for the veterans to feel that nostalgia, feel that thing. Even I, whenever I look at the uniform that I wore last, it kind of triggers some kind of emotion. So I can feel that. I can feel that what you're saying. So the
for a man to transition from the army to the civil war may not be so much of effort, whereas a woman, that too from my initial batches. I'm from the initial batch. When I had to prove to the nation that I'm not a woman, because nobody told me not to prove. Only thing that I thought with my pseudo acquired masculinity, I will be accepted more in my olive green foods. It was my mindset. It was my fear. It was my desire to be more and more accepted to all the men in the uniform, not only from my unit, but from the fighting arms, but from everywhere, every corner. So somehow subconsciously, I started enacting masculine gender so much. So that became more of a hindrance when I hung my uniform, actually.
Yeah, I see the point. It's not that easy because men, even for us, when we're transiting, it takes a while to get adjusted, outside the uniform, outside the forces, because you're used to certain way of things, things are done a certain way. I mean, my own personal experience has been, once I came out, I realized that things would not happen. You have to be there. You are the CHM. You are the soldier on the ground. You are the officer on the ground. It doesn't happen that you decide something and you pass an order and it trickles down to the last man, and it's executed. You'll be surprised next day morning when you come and you said, "Hey, why didn't this happen?" And somewhere in the in the chain of command, somebody has broken the chain, and then things have not happened. So you learn you learn along. You learn by being by being outside the uniform, how the world works. So I see the point. So the other interesting bit was you went for this beauty contest. Do you want to talk about that? What was it? Why the beauty contest?
By the beauty contest, because I really wanted something very stimulating, very challenging, and this was the only biggest challenge I could see that I can take over. I mean, you have led a life full of challenges for 14 years, and all of a sudden you're sitting in your house thinking about the PT parade, the games parade, the uniform days. Nothing. There's nothing. Morning till evening. Now you're free. So I really wanted to take something very challenging, and I knew this would be the biggest challenge I can take. It's a 180-degree challenge. Only knowing Savdan and Vishram wearing shirt and trousers and flat heels and a bun and everything, I thought I must go here and then challenge myself to learn how to be a dainty woman, I should say.
And how did
Help
that
you in your journey going forward?
Between a lip liner and an eyeliner, which I earlier did not know.
interesting?
Yeah.
And
Then you decided to get try another one, which is write a book. You're a published author. Your book has done fairly well. And all those social media posts that we have been following, a lot of women connected with you. They drew inspiration from your journey. Do you want to talk about that? How did that come about?
Was my passion even in the army also. If you remember, I used to write poems. In fact, I was the first woman cadet editor of OTA journal. Till I became, there was no OTA woman cadet editor. So I was one of the 4 cadet editors were selected. I was one of them, and I was the only woman cadet editor in OTA journal. So I had a flair for writing, and I always used to express my feelings because of the writing part, which I used to do it. And once I left army, I have so many stories to tell, so many experiences, so many interesting episodes of my life, and a lot of humor actually, and the challenges, of course. So I thought might as well start. I used to get tired telling people about my experiences, so I thought let me write books, and that's how I started writing my novels actually.
So let's switch to the next section, which is talking about the 17 women, young lady officers who would be joining through NDA. Viewers, we are in conversation with Lt Col Ankita Srivastava, who's a veteran, an author, and an inspirational speaker as well, a motivational speaker as well. Ankita, again, as I said, in a historic day. So as an officer, as a lady officer, when you look back, and if you were to connect the dot from the day you got commissioned to today, share with our viewers what would be going through the minds and heart for the lady officers, also for their family.
This is a historical moment. Definitely history has been written now. It has been engraved in golden words today. And my heart swells with pride that I have been part of this journey. Today, what you see, when the world is seeing this face, this has 33 years of mehnat, khoon, pasina, tears, sacrifice, a lot of work, lot of things that we all bunch of lady officers, starting from the first batch that got inducted in 1992. The first batch, I'm telling you, it is like 33 years back if we look back. All the lady officers who have been part of this entire, I would say, journey, this is the resultant. This is what the face now you can see. Now the nation is seeing, and I'm very proud of this, that finally a day has come where We do not have to fight that, okay, we are not a woman, we are not a lady, we are a lady, but we are officers. Now the acceptance is worldwide. Now the India is seen on a larger platform that the women are now going to pass out from India. I mean, they have passed out. Now they will be joining the IMA. It's a phenomenal victory of women. And I think what I said, why I joined army, or most people like me must have joined in those days. We definitely had lots of restrictions. We definitely have. We were growing up with lots of restrictions, obstacles, fear of the society. All that has been washed off today. Today it is like complete victory. I'm feeling very happy about it.
I mean, if you want to just get into the minds of their parents, given your own experience, your parents were there for the passing out, and they must have pipped, the ranks on you. How, if you can just paint that picture. And I know, I distinctly, every time I think of commissioning, I distinctly remember my dad and mom who were doing that pipping, on our shoulders. How was it for you? If you could share that. And why I'm asking this is I'm trying to draw a parallel between what your parents would have experienced to what these parents of the young 17 women officers or lady officers, their parents would have experienced today.
It was an emotional moment for them, for me, or both of us. They told me that you've done the unachievable, unbelievable, which they had not thought of naturally at that time, but they were super, super proud of me at that moment. My father would tell each and everybody, I think, when we were going back in the train also after the commissioning, for 36 hours from Chennai to Allahabad, I was sleeping. My father must have told each and everybody in the compartment, my daughter has become a commissioned officer. And till few months back, I've lost him. He has been talking about me always. He's been super proud of me. And of course, my mother as well. I mean, I owe my success to my parents.
Well,
As I said,
again,
you and me have been there, and we know our parents were part of the, which is a tradition in the armed forces. Somebody from the family joins in, and we know, what it means to the parent, for the parents, right, to see their, their child that they brought up in uniform with ranks on, pipping their ranks, and I think that's a very special privilege that they have deserved it for the, they kept it for the family, which is whoever thought of it. I have not gone into the history of that, but whoever thought of it was, hats off to them. So I want to go a little further back again. Take you back for these training time. The period when you went through the training. For all those viewers out there who want to know what these 17 women, lady officers would have gone through in their 4 years of training, through your eyes, through your training experience. So if you could start with, all that you went through from the day you joined till the day you, you graduated, or you got your ranks. Okay, so from the day I joined, I met my senior subaltern, I would say, and that was you. You were the sergeant of that moment. You were like appointed as a sergeant for lady officers, lady cadet basically. And when you asked us, LC move, I looked behind myself. I thought somebody's name is LC, ELCEE, ELCEE. So I thought somebody's name with LC is there. I didn't move. And then you obviously shouted at me, move, LC, move. I said, my name is not LC. My name is Ankita. So obviously I was rolling after some time, and then we had the punishment. And then when I saw that you were calling LC's move, then I thought, how come everybody's name is LC? After rolling, after getting all the punishment, I finally understood LC means lady cadet, not a name. So that was my introduction to the word LC. And then the training started, and then I was with sweat, blood, tears, everything, failing, a lot of failure. Yes, we did fail. I mean, I personally failed many times, but then I always bounced back. I always did double mehnat to overcome that. I was not a NCC cadet. I was not a
not an athlete before I joined. I was a simple college girl who used to go in college in simple, normal sandals. Whereas I'm wearing here shoes which were kilos and kilos with 13 nails, and then the rifle, and then you're running and taking punishment. How much endurance we developed, I mean, I can, it's the body that keeps on taking so much mental strength. I hardly knew anything about the Indian, because I was the first from my house to go into the Indian Army. I had nobody to tell me anything. Every day was my learning. Every day was such a brilliant day for me. अच्छा ऐसा होता है, अच्छा इसको ऐसे बोलते हैं, अच्छा ऐसे खाना खाते हैं, अच्छा ऐसे, अच्छा ये फोक गिरा दिया तो भी पनिशमेंट, ये गिरा दिया तो पनिशमेंट, ये नहीं खाया तो पनिशमेंट, जेब में अपने सैंडविच भी ठूस के खा सकते हैं हम लोग. आई मीन देयर वाज एवरी डे हॉर्स राइडिंग इज देयर. आई हैव डन दैट एज अ पार्ट ऑफ द हॉबी क्लासेस. Then there was the classes where we are learning so many things in the class when the instructor is teaching. Hajar things. There were something like patrolling. Okay, when my buddy was asked patrolling, the instructor asked, "What is patrolling?" So she immediately, I was just thinking, what is patrolling? She stood up and she says, "It is the way you fill the petrol in a car." I,
Interesting.
I mean, that was then obviously then we were again doing punishment, and then after the punishment we learned what is patrolling. So it's like there are hajar things every day we are learning. Make chapatis on the floor. The drill ustad used to make us do thap 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 on that hard OTA Chennai floor. And why? Because when you do salami shast, so that sound of that magazine when you hit, it should be very loud and very, very clear, crisp and clear. So these hands have permanently become rough. Now they are no more those soft, dainty. N number of hand cream I have used, they have not become soft. So there's so many things I can go on and go on. For that, that's why I've written my book, my autobiography book, No Woman's Land. And if anybody reads that book, they will understand all the journey tidbits that I have done. Even the swimming part. I've never seen a swimming pool in my life. How can I even think of going inside a pool? I knew I will die. But how the instructor must have made me do that after lots of punishment. I finally cleared the test. I didn't die in the pool.
So
For all those who don't know what lady officers or lady cadets have to go through, as Ankita was calling them LC, which is for lady cadets, there is no concession. It is same like, just think of a sport, whether it is cricket, whether it is football, athletics, the rules are the same. You have to do, if you're running a marathon, you have to do the same distance. There is no concession on that. Yes, there might be difference in timing. There might be difference in how you do it. But at the end of the day, you have to do the same amount of work. That doesn't change. Because enemy will not differentiate between a lady officer or a male officer. Because the enemy will give you the same thing back what he gives to a male officer. So that's why the training doesn't change. The training remains same. So they would go to the drill square, they would go to the firing range, they would do BPT, which is running with your backpacks and weapon. You have to do long march, all of that at night, day, doesn't matter, rain, sunshine, the same thing. The lady officers go through the same thing. There is no concession there. So Ankita, again, this is as far as doing the physical part of it, the training part of it. One thing that stood out, and I think that's been acknowledged now, courses after courses, that lady cadets or the women officers, they were beating us hands down when it came to theory. In exams, beating us hollow.
Yeah, of course. We are more focused that way.
Right? So that's the other part, right?
So whether it was the practical side of it or the theoretical side of it, lady officers, lady cadets, they proved, or they did better than many officers, male officers. Now, let's step into the next one. From here, what happens now that they're commissioned? Obviously they go back home. Thereafter, they get posted out to various units because this is NDA. Probably some of them going to the Navy, Air Force, Army. How's that journey? Again, I'm talking purely from your personal experience because we don't know what these 17 lady officers would be going through. Through your eyes, we want it. We want your experience. We want our viewers to experience what these 17 young lady officers would go through from your experience. So how was that? Once you went back home, spent your days at home, and then when you were on your way to your unit, how was that experience, that journey part?
Well, my father took me there to my first unit. So I have a very different experience. He literally handed me over to the commandant. ये लो मेरी बेटी, आज से ये आपकी बेटी हुई. And the commandant told my father, Mr. Srivastava, आज से ये मेरी बेटी है, आप इसकी चिंता मत करिए. One wrong thing and I'll hang her upside down. So all the train journey, when I was feeling very excited, Abhi I will be out of my house, free bird, a commissioned officer, enjoying everything. सबके ऊपर पानी फिर गया जब मेरे कमांडेंट ने ये बोला. I mean, he said, I'm going to have my hawk eyes on you. One wrong step. मुझे लगा मैं कहाँ से कुएं से आकर खाई में ही गिर गई. I mean, there was no freedom. There was no something like. I was thinking, now I have become a commissioned officer. Training में बहुत strictness होता है. Training में you don't have that much of liberty. Now as a commissioned officer, I will have a life to enjoy. But ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. I was definitely under strict supervision. Why? Why? Not because that there's something wrong. Why? There's a reason. I was one of the first lady officer in that unit. All eyes were watching on my performance. Now, what you are talking of today, what we are seeing in the world today, the face, this has a root over there. What we did in the first unit, what we performed, how we behaved, how we dressed up, how I dressed up in the manner, I mean, the way we were supposed to as an officer. Nothing was prescribed or told or not to do or do. But we had a certain format of being an officer, looking like an officer, behaving like an officer, talking like an officer, laughing like an officer. Everything was officer oriented. So my behavior definitely was being watched by Hajar men, soldiers. They themselves were skeptical. How will their lady boss will be? Can they put their trust in us? Can they actually trust us in the emergency situation? Will I be able to protect them? So all this was a huge load on my shoulders. And I followed the line like a, there was nothing difference between मेरा academy और first unit में बहुत ज़्यादा difference नहीं था. I was towing the line very, very strongly.
Again, what you said is true because your batch was one of the first batches to get into the armed forces. Yours was the second batch, and like you said, in some of the units you were the first lady officers to be there. So it was learning for everyone. I mean, even units were learning, right? The commanding officers were learning. For them also, it was a completely new thing. How do you handle them? How do you work with them? Even the troops had to learn. Or rather unlearn how to work around a lady officer. So last 30 years have been, today when these young lady officers are joining, will be joining their units in different places across India, they would start off with definitely an advantage. The only advantage is, yes, the environment they get into, they already know by now what it means to, how do you work around with, lady officers. So I think to that extent, a lot has happened in 30 years, and but then that does not take away anything from the fact that this is the first batch of lady officers graduating from National Defence Academy, an institution which has for over 7 decades has seen male officers coming out. It's definitely a historic moment, and many more batches. Already the other batches are ready, I think about 200 plus lady officers are there at the academy who will be graduating, with every batch. So in coming time, we would see these officers perform at different stages, combat role. We already know there are fighter pilots in the Air Force now. It's only a matter of time when you will see infantry also having, which I come from, lady officers commanding. So, with that, Thank you, Ankita. Thank you for joining us. Viewers, we were in conversation with Lt Col Ankita Srivastava, who's an Army veteran, an author, also a motivational speaker. She was sharing her journey from being a student in the college to an Army officer with 14 years of service, what it took for her to be there, and then then coming out of the armed forces, then creating the second innings in the outside, where is now an author, also motivational speaker. Thank you, Ankita. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again on some of our shows.
Good
Thank
day.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.